Hey trainers and Poke parents, Poke Dad here along with Poke Son.
KK Shiv 128.
And today we're going to talk about, on our Let's Play series, we're going to talk about staples. Okay, you're a young trainer or a Poke parent looking to get your child into Pokemon. What cards should you start out getting? And we're assuming that you're trading. You're not just getting a whole bunch of booster packs and hoping you get these cards. It's much better to trade and get the exact card you want or you need. Singles rather than booster packs. We'll get into the best way to get booster packs after we kind of go through the staples here. The best route and most cost-effective way to get these cards. So let's start out and let's just kind of go over the cards. We'll briefly touch on each one and why they're important. We're not going to spend a whole lot of time on each individual card. So the first one is Eevee. You might want to pick up some
playset of 4.
Playset of 4 of Eevee because they go into multiple decks. You've got eventually down the road, if your child decides they really like Pokemon, then they're going to use this Eevee for, I can think of 2 different decks, for Glaceon decks or Espeon decks
or
Sylveon decks. So
Gardevoir if you want to run.
Yeah, so
Sylveon line.
That's 4 competitive decks right there off of this one card, and that's going to be a trend that I'm going to go through and talk, and we both are going to talk about, is getting these cards that can fit in multiple decks. So Eevee, really good. You just attach an energy and then you can grab whatever card you need. Sylveon that evolves from it, depending on what energy you attach to it. So super good. A playset of 4. They're cheap. I mean, you can probably get a playset of 4 for a pack, maybe even less. So next is the Oranguru. And this one with the ability instruct lets you draw till you have 3 cards. Because we're on a budget and we're not playing Lele, it kind of fills that spot that Lele kind of does. It adds consistency, and if you get like a late game in what's called, then it helps you kind of get out of that if your opponent tries to put you in a hole. So he's a little more expensive. He's, I think, half a pack for just one, but he goes into multiple decks. So anything else you want to add on him?
I think if you even if you have your Tapu Leles, he's still good to run like a one of. I think at most get probably like 2 of them, but you should only really be running 1 in each deck, especially if you have Tapu Leles.
You'll see a trend in these budget decks. Either you run the Oranguru engine or you run the Octillery engine, and it just gives you that extra consistency, that extra draw power that you have to kind of offset if you don't have access to Lele or even Zoroark. Then you need some way to replenish your hand, and Oranguru fits that spot in a lot of decks extremely well. Now, this other Oranguru, he's a little cheaper than the other one with the special ability, but because you're not running Lele and you might get in a situation where you're out of ends, out of Guzma, it's good to use this first attack, resource management, and put 3 cards from your discard pile onto the bottom of your deck in any order. That's good if you're running low on resources and you need to get them back. So he's a little cheaper. He doesn't necessarily go into every single deck, but there's definitely decks where you kind of have to be real conscious about how aggressive you play, or you can play aggressive and then use him. So anything else you want to add?
He's a good recovery Pokemon. If your opponent's playing a mill deck where they're discarding your energies, then just attach an energy there and get your energies all back into the deck. And you can get your other really needed things, like if you have 3 puzzles in your discard pile, then you can put 1 of them back, and then 2 other things, and then you play puzzle of time even again.
So it's good. He's not going to go in every single deck. More often than not, you're going to play this Oranguru in more decks than the other one, but it's still good to have both of them. Like I said, this one is a little cheaper than the other one, so definitely pick up one of each. Next is Pseudo Wudo. It's going to have the Watch and Learn. You're not looking for the one that has Roadblock. There's two Pseudo Wudos. One has an ability Roadblock. This one has Watch and Learn. This one's better for standard. The other one's better for expanded, and that's a whole different ball game, folks. You're going to spend more money because it requires older cards. It's a much more aggressive and controlling format. So for your younger trainers, for you younger trainers and poke parents, stick with standard for the most part, and this is the pseudo that you want. With the attack, watch and learn. If your opponent's Pokemon had used an attack during his or her last turn, you can use it. It's kind of situational, but it's always a threat. If you just put this on the bench with one energy, your opponent has to be very, very cautious in which attack they use. You know, I can definitely think of like Bulu decks. If they do the Nature's Judgment and discard all the energy, then you just hit them with Watch and Learn. You know, just one example. But
and you can attach a counter energy, and it works super good. It also goes good in Buzzwole decks as a kind of backup attacker, and it kind of scare the Bulu away.
So definitely pick up one. You don't need multiple of him, just one, and he's cheap. So I mean, you're not gonna spend a lot of money. Tapu Koko. Now this little guy, he's a pack and a half for one, and he's worth it. He's gonna go into a lot of decks because of right here, free retreat.
And his first attack.
A lot of decks require mobility, and Tapu Koko kind of fits that bill perfectly. He gives you free retreat, and he has a single attack, Flying Flip, which does 20 damage to each of your opponent's Pokemon. So he's really good early game, or he's really good if you're looking for some mobility in the deck. You're not sure which Pokemon to promote if your opponent gets a knockout on you. He fills that role perfectly. So, and he goes into multiple decks. Multiple decks can make real good use of Tapu Koko. Anything else you want to add?
He can be good late game. If they try and run away and they don't have like a Guzma, if you don't have a Guzma, then you can just put a Koko and do some 20 damage spread. He's also really good early game for setting up for the one-hit KOs for like Bulu against Gardevoir. If you can do the flying flip on each of them, then that sets up the Bulu to do 210 with a choice band and discarding all the energy to get a one-shot on the Gardevoir.
So he's real good. He fits into a lot of different decks. There's only a couple decks that run more than one. So if you just pick up one of him, then that would be absolutely perfect. So there's other decks that run multiple, but most of the decks, run one, and he's really good. Now, for the same reason Koko is really good, he's really good too, because once again, the Mew has free retreat. And he has this special ability, Memories of Dawn. He can copy the attack of your basic Pokemon on play. But you still have to have the necessary energy to use it. So he's going to sit on your bench, and he's going to copy any of your basic Pokemon's attacks. And the key with him is this psychic weakness. Some of the strongest Pokemon right now are weak to psychic. And so he's very, very good at performing that task, attaching the correct energy to him, putting him into the active, and then hitting one of your opponent's Pokemon for weakness. So, and he has the free retreat, so again, like the Koko, it gives your deck a mobility that it really needs. Your decks need some sort of mobility, whether that's Floatstone, Mew, Koko. You want mobility in your deck. Anything else?
I think the biggest reason why you should play the Mew is Buzzwole is everywhere, and so is Lucario. And they're weak to Psychic, so having a Mew in the deck, even just the one of, you put it up, and then you can copy one of your attacks and get a one-shot on Buzzwole. And that's really good, especially about how popular Buzzwole is.
Okay, moving on. For the same with Mew, you have Mewtwo. Now he doesn't have the free retreat. His retreat cost is 2, but once again, for a single attachment, you do his first attack, Psychic, which does 20 plus 20 more for each energy on your opponent's active Pokemon. So for the same reason you're playing Mew, you could play Mewtwo. Now, your deck may play Evolution Pokemon, and what that means is it runs like Stage 1 or Stage 2 Pokemons rather than just Basic. So if your deck is running Evolution Pokemons, then it might be better to play Mewtwo, especially if you're already playing double colorless energy.
Or the Mew EX for the evolution, which I forgot to put up there. Sorry, but it has 120 health, and it does nearly the same effect as Mew, but you can copy any attack in the game. You'd have to go to there. Yeah, there it is. It's also really good in the evolution decks and great against Buzzwole and Lucario.
I don't have the price for packs for one Mew, so as of right now, I'm hesitant to say that you have to have him. If it comes down to it, Mew and Mewtwo can fill that role. Mew is good in certain types of decks, whereas other decks can get away with just the regular Mew, the basic one, not the EX, and the Mewtwo. So,
or you can use the Oricorio.
Next on the list, Oricorio. He kind of fills the same role as the Mew EX, and the Mewtwo. So for one attachment, single energy, for each of your opponent's Pokemon in the discard pile, you can place 1 damage counter on your opponent's Pokemon any way you like. So if they have 8 Pokemon in their discard pile, you can place 8 damage counters anywhere on your opponent's side of the board.
It's also really good and expanded.
Yeah, but
Night
March. We're staying away from expanded. We're just standard. So his second attack, Revelation Dance. If there's no Stadium card in play, then the attack does nothing. So 9 times out of 10, there's going to be a Stadium in play, so you attach 30, maybe Choice Band, so 60, so 120 on a Buzzwole. And Oricorio has resistance, so it's going to be tough for Buzzwole to knock it out unless they use their GX attack or their second attack, in which case they have 3 energy attached. So
they have 3 energy attacks. Mewtwo with a Choice Band would do 110, and then weakness 220.
That's why it's good in your deck to have multiple of these psychic attackers. And the next one we're going to talk about is Trubbish.
Not really an attacker.
Not an attacker. He's a support Pokemon. So maybe your opponent's playing a lot of abilities and you don't want them to.
Like Zoroark, Lycanroc.
Zoroark, Lycanroc, or maybe they're playing the Buzzwole Lycanroc that runs also Octillery. So you want to shut that down. So you play the Trubbish and then you play Garbodor with Garbotoxin. It has the ability, if this Pokemon has a Pokemon Tool card attached to it, each Pokemon in play in each player's hand and the discard pile has no abilities except for Garbotoxin. So you shut off everything that you see here that says like ability right there. So Eevee, Oranguru, this Mew that lets you copy other attacks, this Mew EX lets you copy attacks, and so forth.
And a Vessel Hand from Octillery.
You kind of have to build your deck around him. You can't just add him into your deck and just go forward with it. You kind of have to have a deck built around him because of his ability can hurt you as well. It affects both your opponent, or both you and your opponent. So
you'd have to run more supporters than your opponent.
You have to run more draw supporters rather than running like 8 to 10. Then you'd want to run like 9 to 11, and so forth. So it's a good card to pick up. You don't need to pick up more than 2. I'd say pick up 2. So if your young trainer wants to try a Garbodor deck, then 2's the perfect number. You don't need to go out and get 4. Next Pokemon is kind of another support Pokemon.
Great for setup in the early game.
It's really good in your Stage 2 decks.
Like Gardevoir.
Gardevoir or
Ninetales.
Empoleon, you saw it in Empoleon if you happen to catch episode 2. Search your deck for up to 2 Pokemon, reveal them, and put them into your hand. That's a free attack. Okay, it doesn't cost any energy. We're not trying to use him for Icy Snow. He's right here for Beacon. Grab any 2 Pokemon out of your deck, show them to your opponent, put them into your hand. Forces your opponent to have an answer for it, like an in or
red card,
some sort of disruption. And if they don't, then you're going to be set up pretty good for the next turn. He's just there to help your setup and help your board state and the consistency of the Stage 1, Stage 2 decks. So,
right.
Next, you've heard me talk about the Octillery, which you're going to need Remoraid because Octillery evolves from Remoraid. So, Octillery. Once again, we're not playing Lele. You're not going to be buying Lele's. You need something to offset that. Octillery fills that role pretty darn good.
Yeah.
Abyssal Hand, once during your turn, you may draw cards until you have 5 in your hand. Some of the best decks, the Buzzwole Lycanroc, play 1 Lele and a 2/2 line of Octillery. So, Sylveon. Sylveon plays no Lele's, but it doesn't play Octillery either. But my point is, which that really wasn't a point, so erase what I just said. Octillery's good. If you don't have Lele's and you don't have Zoroark, then you're gonna need some way to draw. Same concept as the Rangaroo with Instruct. You need some way to draw. And Octillery is great for that. Anything else you want to add?
I think even some of the really good decks still run Octillery with the Tapu Leles, and if they're running them with the Tapu Leles, it kind of just shows that it's a really good card.
And it's probably the most expensive card. Yeah, it's the most expensive card on our list. One of these costs 2 packs, but
it's worth it.
It's worth it because it goes into 8, 10 different decks. So
it's a little, just a tiny bit cheaper than the 25-pack Tapu Leles.
So you spend 4 packs, and you're set for 8 or 10 decks, and you don't have to spend that 4 packs again. So definitely grab 2 of them. You don't need to go crazy and get 3 or 4 of them. Just grab 2 of them. That's more than enough. Now some other quick staples. We're going to briefly touch over these. Enhanced Hammer. Discard a special energy from one of your opponent's Pokemon. And it's super cheap. You can get a full playset for maybe 50 cents. It's good to have in some decks. Evosoda.
It's really good in the Stage 1 decks.
Yep. Search for a Pokemon that evolves from one of your Pokemon and put it into play. Can't do it on your turn 1, but after turn 1, grab Evosoda, play Evosoda, grab Pokemon, evolve it.
It goes really good with the Zoroark and Lucario decks.
So, but you're not playing Zoroark and Lucario, so you won't have to worry about that. But there's other decks you can grab Octillery and evolve right there.
Or the Piplup to Primplup.
Yep.
The Empoleon deck.
Next, Field Blower. You're going to need to pick up at least 3 of these. It just depends. This is your best counter to Garbodor. If your opponent's playing Garbotoxin, then you'll want at least 2, if not 3 of these. So good to pick up. They're not very expensive. Multiple use. They go in every single deck. Every single deck.
And if you get hit with a Parallel City, or if your opponent has a Fighting Fury Belt, that's really good to get out of send them to the discard pile, because those aren't really good things that you want your opponent to have in play.
So, really good. It goes in every deck. Grab at least 3. Next, Max Elixir. You saw this in the Hoopa deck, episode 1. it's good to have 4 of this because there's a lot of decks that can take advantage of max elixir. You know, if they're running between 8 and 14 or 15 energy, basic energies, then max elixir usually fits in them quite nicely.
Goes great in Buzzwall to accelerate to get it super aggressive.
Okay, so definitely pick up 4 of those, and they're about half a pack each. So you're gonna spend about 2 packs to get your full
Playset.
4 playset. Next is Max Potion. Um, Not very expensive. You can probably get 4 of them for a pack or less, and they're not going to be in every single deck, but maybe like a third of the decks might play a Max Potion.
They're pretty good to have.
Definitely good to have. No harm in picking up some because they, like I said, they do go into a lot of decks.
I don't think it'd be like a first priority to get, but I think there's like a couple other ones, like Field Blower would be like a first priority to get.
Absolutely.
Orangaroo and Octillery and Cynthia's.
Absolutely.
They're like your tier 1, and then I think that one would be like tier 3.
Nest Ball, super cheap. Grab you a playset of them. You're going to need them. You're not playing Lele to grab Bridget, and so you need some way to get your basic Pokemons on your bench. Nest Ball fills that role pretty nice. So,
yep.
Next, Puzzle of Time. Not every deck plays Puzzle, but there's definitely a lot of decks that play Puzzle. So and I think right now they're maybe half a pack each, and it's just a really strong card right now in Standard and Expanded. So
goes great with Sword.
It's definitely worth having playset of these puzzles. So they're about 50 cents or half a pack each. Next we have Rare Candy. Most all of your evolution decks, I think, play Rare Candy. So
unless they're stage 1 decks, like Ghost Spot and Sword.
So every stage 2 deck is going to play Rare Candy. So definitely pick up 4. They're super cheap. So definitely pick those up.
It's like Magnezone, Empoleon, Gardevoir, Bulu. There's a lot.
Next card, Rescue Stretcher. How many do you think? 2? Pick up 2 just in case? Like the Empoleon deck ran 2 of them.
Yeah, I think 2 is.
So pick up 2.
Right number.
Unless you're playing a Passimian deck or a Gyarados deck, you don't need 4. So just pick up 2. They're cheap. So Super Rod.
It's really good.
I think it's rare that decks run 2, so
I think it's just a one of.
So just grab one of Super Rod.
They're pretty cheap.
Yep. So I think it was just one time a Gardevoir deck ran 2 of them. So just grab the one. You'll be fine.
A lot of times they'll run like a 1 Rescue Stretcher and 1 Super Rod split.
Next we have Ultra Ball. You have to get 4 of these. This is a priority.
Tier 1.
Priority 1. Need 4 every deck. Oh, well, 99% of the decks play 4 Ultra Ball.
Tell me a deck that doesn't run 4 Ultra Balls.
Actually, I don't know. I'm sure I've seen something at some point. There is.
Like 3. Like Sableye, Garb.
Yeah. So.
I think that's the only one though.
But standard, everything's going to play 4 Ultra Balls, so grab 4. They're cheap. Real cheap. Brooklet Hill. Now, you saw me use this in the Empoleon deck. It's important because we're not playing Lele to grab Bridget, so we have to offset that in some way. And Brooklet Hill plus the Nest Ball performs that function pretty well. Not as consistent, but it definitely works.
It's good. It goes with your Octilleries, Empoleons, Buzzwall,
any fighting decks, water decks. So definitely go ahead and pick up. I'd go ahead and pick up 4 Most of the time in your decks, these budget decks, you're going to run 3, but it's good to just go ahead and grab 4, just in case. And they're cheap too, so. Next we have Parallel City. Really, really good. You're going to see probably every other game, you're going to get hit with a Parallel City. That's why Field Blower is so important, or you have your own Parallel City to counter, to put down before your opponent can play their Parallel City. I would grab 2. There's no need to grab 4. Just grab 2. That way you'll have them, some decks. So, anything else?
Definitely Field Blower to counter it, or your own stadium to bump it.
So, grab 2 Parallel Cities. That's good. Next, Acerola. Put one of your Pokemon that has damage counters on it and all cards attached into your hand. I think if you pick up 2 of these, that'd be fine. I don't see you needing 4 of them in your budget deck.
No.
So, just pick up 2 of these. Bridget, I think you might want to pick up a full playset. Get you 4 of these. Because just in case if you're not liking the Brooklet Hill or the Nest Ball engine, then you could play 3, even 4 Bridgets and set up your Pokemon that way. So what do you think?
Definitely a playset of 4. At least 3.
Okay.
But definitely think 4.
Cynthia, you've already seen Cynthia in episode 1 and episode 2, so definitely pick up 4. She's about half a pack each, but she goes in every single deck.
High priority.
Priority 1. Grab you 4 Cynthia. Next, Guzma. Equally as important. Switch one of your opponent's benched Pokemon with their active. If you do, switch your active Pokemon with one of your benched. Super, super good. You need 4. Right now, there's no card called VS Seeker in Standard, and so you need to run multiple copies in order to kind of perform the same function. So
it's also great if you get a Pokemon stuck in the active, then you can Guzma to get them back to the bench and get your attacking Pokemon back into the active.
This goes along with what I was talking about with Tapu Koko and the little Mew, how it adds a certain mobility to your deck. Being able to play Guzma and then just promote Koko, and then you can retreat into whatever you want, is really, really good. It gives your decks a lot of mobility. Sorry. So, pick up 4 Guzmas. They're not that expensive. Really, really good card. Next is Lily, which draw cards until you have 6 in your hand. If it's your first turn, draw cards until you have 8. You're going to see in these budget decks with the Nest Balls and the Brooklet Hills that your hand will dwindle down pretty quick, and a turn 1 Lily is actually pretty strong in some of these decks. But there's no reason to pick up 4. You're not going to play more than maybe 1 or 2 in a deck, so maybe pick up 2.
A great combo is the Nest Balls and Lily, because you can kind of play it like it's Bridget, and then get all your Pokemon down, and then you can get a whole bunch of cards in your hand. So then next turn you have a lot of stuff to do.
Alright, so what do you think? 2?
2. Yeah.
Alright, 2 Lilies. Now in
high priority.
Priority 1. Get you 4 of these. You're gonna need 4 of these. If you go down in prizes, then in is your main draw support to hurt your opponent, disrupt them. In is definitely our #1 priority. Grab 4. They're going to be half a pack each, so 2 packs for 4, but they go in every single deck. That's the thing with the Cynthia, the In,
the Sycamore,
they go in every single deck. So you're paying for them one time, and it covers every single deck. So nothing more to add. It's really good. You need 4 of them. You need 4 of them.
Late game in.
Not every deck's going to play 4. Some decks only play 2 or 3, but you need 4. Because there are decks that require 4. Same with Sycamore. Discard your hand and draw 7 cards. You need 4 of these. You need a playset. Since they've added Cynthia, this Sycamore count has gone down in a lot of decks from 4 of to only 2, maybe even 3. So go ahead and get you 4 because they're not going to be that expensive, and there are decks that do require 4 of these. So next we have Choice Band. Almost every deck runs either Choice Band or Fighting Fury Belt. And there's decks that run 4 of these. So
Majority, I think, run 3 though.
almost every deck runs 3. There's certain decks that use the ability of Puzzle of Time to only run 2. So grab at least 4. Well, you don't need more than 4 online, but grab 4 for sure. They're not that expensive, so you should be able to get, for a pack and a half to 2 packs, you can get your playset. Really, really good. You're going to need them. Fighting Fury Belt, they're about half a pack each. Not every deck runs it, but a lot of decks do, and it's just a good tool to have. It gives your basic Pokemon 40 more hit points, and it does 10 more damage. So
that's pretty good.
like in the Hoopa deck in episode 1, it ran 4 of these. So there are decks that need Fighting Fury Belt. You're going to see they either run Fighting Fury Belt or they run Choice Band. So both are equally as important. So pick up 4 Fighting Fury Belts, pick up 4 Choice Bands. Another tool that you need 4 of is the Float Stone. Float Stone pretty much goes in every single deck. Almost, I'd say 98 to 99% of the decks run at least 1, 2, even 3, 4 Float Stones. I cannot think of a deck that does not run at least 1 Float Stone. I've already talked about it. Your deck needs mobility, and this is a sure way to give any of your Pokemon mobility. If something gets stuck in the active, you just attach that Float Stone and get whatever Pokemon you want in the active in the active.
And if you have Garbodor with Garbotoxin, this is the tool that you want to put on it. You don't want to put a Choice Band or Fighting Fury Belt. And since it has a 3 retreat cost, if you have something else, then they can Guzma it up, and then you have to either like Field Blower your own tool and then attach Float Stone, or manually retreat or attach 3 energies to retreat, or find your own Guzma.
Float Stone, very, very important. Priority 1. Grab you 4 of them. They're going to be a little less than half a pack each. You could probably get them for a pack and a half to 2 packs for 4. They go in every single deck. Next, for the energy. Strong. It's good to have 4 strong energies, so go ahead and pick up a playset. There's a lot of decks that use it.
A lot of good fighting Pokemon.
Maybe not so much in our budget decks will take use of this, but down the road, after you decide whether your child really likes to play Pokemon and wants to stay with it, then they're going to need strong energies to play the more expensive decks and more expensive cards. But you might still see a couple budget decks centered around, making use of strong energy. But definitely pick up 4 of them. You're going to need them. Whether you need them right now or down the road, you're going to need them. So, moving along, counter energy. You saw me use the counter energy with Empoleon, and it's really good in these stage 1, stage 2 decks that go down in prizes. Attach the counter energy, and it gives you 2 energies of any color. So it's really, really good. It's very, very budget friendly in these decks because a lot of times you are going to go down in prizes. So it just kind of gives you that extra boost, that come from behind ability. So anything to add on counter energy?
I think it's great for budget decks because it works for non-EX or GX Pokemon, and it goes pretty good with Sudowoodo. It can really catch your opponent off guard and just blast your opponent.
I think it goes into a lot of different decks, so definitely good to have 4 of these. And then the last card that you need 4 of is double colorless energy.
For sure.
Super cheap. It goes in almost every deck. Unless they're running just straight basic energy or the counter energy, you need them. You need the double colorless. Very important. It just gives you your deck that acceleration sometimes to outspeed your opponent's deck. So definitely pick up 4 of these. And they're super cheap.
And it goes good with some of the very versatile Pokemon that we have, like the Mewtwo that does 20 for just 2 colorless, and you can pretty much one-shot a Buzzball if they have 3 energy, and you have a Choice Band and DC. And you can also use it with Coco, and you can use it with Mew. You can use it with Mew EX to copy your own Pokemon that take just 2 colorless energies, and it's very good with a deck pretty much.
Now, real quick, I kind of want to go over, now that you know what staples you need, what's the best way of getting them? And the best way is go on, this is just Troll and Toad, but there's other sites like TCG Player or CCG Castle or Toy Wiz, sites like that. Lot of 36 unused booster pack code cards. $10. Now these are out of stock, but there's other ones. There's $8.99, $9.99. So you get these, and there's some that are more expensive, but I mean, for the most part, say there's some evolutions for $6 to $10. So you want to get these 36, and then you're going to be able to get all these staples.
And that
All these staples, $10. $10, and you're going to be able to get every single card that we have on our Pokemon TCG Online. All these staples for $10, and you'll probably have booster packs left over. So definitely the best way to get these staples, get these booster packs, when they come in the mail, go up to your redeem codes, scan them, type in the code, get those booster packs, make them tradable, and then in the search bar of the trades, just type in Eevee, see what people are wanting for it, and if you don't like what they're offering, then just put,
make your own.
Make your own trade. 1 pack, 4 Eevee. Simple as that.
And once you get the staple cards, that just makes every other deck so much more cheaper.
Yep. So if you're starting from scratch and like the Empoleon deck, I had it for less than 15. Well, if you already have these staples, if you already have the artillery, if you already have the Cynthias and the Ns, all that does is drop it down. Drops it down to where instead of 15, maybe it's only 8 or 9 packs. So you're going to see a trend that while it's a little more expensive in the beginning, but then it goes to, now I just need these specific Pokemon. Because I have this shell, this skeleton, if you will, already in place of Cynthia, N, Sycamore, Bridget, Nestball, Ultra Ball,
Field Blower,
Artillery. So you have this network already built. Now you just plug in whatever Pokemon you want to build your deck around. And you're going to end up using a lot of the same cards in every single deck. You're always going to use Cynthia. You're always going to use N. Always going to use Sycamore. Always going to use Guzma. And you'll already have them, so it just lowers the price of the deck you want to build. So that's I'm going to leave a link in the description for Troll and Toad, what I'm on right here with the booster cards, and then I'll leave a link for Outcast. It has the PTC Joe card value, and this tells you how much like each pack is, how much it costs. This tells you how much the GX Pokemon, but it has every single Pokemon and how much they are. These are for online prices or packs, because they don't really have a price. It's just how many packs to get Darkrai EX, 1.75. So it'd probably cost you 2 packs to get a Darkrai EX, and so forth. But it's a very, very good site. I'll leave the link in the description below, along with trollandtoad.com. This link right here to the codes, and please like, subscribe, and be excellent to each other.
And party on, dudes.